I'm going to give my praise to the folks in this room and to Oprah, because I never told you this in person. As the unicorn on cable news at night, the only person of color, I have an obligation to speak up for people who don't have a voice, for people who look like me, black people, members of the LGBT community, and the voiceless all over this world. So I was this young man in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we had this giant satellite dish at our house. And with that giant satellite dish, we could get all of the talk shows who were sending out their promotions and saying, tune in at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock for the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I watched you when you first started your show. I would watch you do your promotions and send them out to every station around the country. And I would say, who is this woman? I want to do this. Who is this? And your show came to my town in Baton Rouge, and you taught me about not being perfect, to be perfect in my imperfection, and to be who I am. And you taught me about self-empowerment and Jan Van Zandt and just all of these wonderful people who taught me empowerment, and I will never forget you for that. And that's why I can sit, you are a large part of the reason that I can sit there every single night and be who I am and unafraid and unapologetic. So thank you so much, Oprah Winfrey, for that. I know we're running long, but I have a lot to say, so I'm going to try to go a little faster, but this is important because I want you to hear me. Today, we are here to honor the change agents. Many of those change agents are people like you. We're here to recognize and celebrate the risk takers and champions in our industry who are insisting upon greater inclusion and empowerment. Inclusion and empowerment. Think about those words. In the news business, we learn early on that one of our most important jobs is not to settle for jargon. Words matter. Language matters. And that is why we are trained as journalists to get the words right and to prevent our subjects from hiding behind them. That is not an easy job lately. These two words, inclusion and empowerment, are in danger of becoming jargon. It has become too easy for leaders and people of influence to hide behind these words, to use them as a point of deflection, while their real meaning continues to elude the people who need them most. And that is why we are here today, to get beyond the words and insist upon a new standard, a new normal. To paraphrase our honored guest here today, Oprah Winfrey, to imagine a day when nobody ever has to say me too again. I often think about people of color in this business, that we need a Me Too moment. And I talk about this with my friend Tamron Hall, who's starting her show this coming fall. And we say, maybe we need to start an Us Too campaign so that people will realize that discrimination can also be brutal and violent to people, and the effects are felt throughout your life. As I was preparing these remarks for today, I experienced a mild feeling of dread, I have to be honest. Not because I didn't want to be here, not because of a lack of enthusiasm about this topic. I had a feeling of dread that I might give a speech that we have all heard too many times before, right? We've heard the speech, nothing is done. A speech that extols the virtues of diversity and inclusion. A speech that makes people feel good and inspired, but doesn't inspire good actions. Now, that's not meant as a criticism towards anyone in this room. In fact, I am fairly certain that in this room I am preaching to the choir. Look at the diversity in this room. Look at the faces and the people around you. But I also imagine that in this room, many of us are feeling fatigued, if we are to be honest. We are tired of having this conversation about diversity and inclusion and empowerment. It is 2019, y'all. We are feeling that every step forward, we're often taking 2 steps back. The truth is, We have made a lot of progress. We can't deny that we've made a lot of progress. Underrepresented groups, women, people with disabilities, people of color, we are being represented more on screen and more in the public eye than ever before, and we should celebrate that. But that is not the same thing as inclusion and empowerment. I stand on the shoulders of a lot of great men and women, people who made great sacrifices in pursuit of these elusive ideals of inclusion and empowerment. One figure that comes to mind as I was thinking about this today, maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't. If you haven't, you should research him. His name is Max Robinson, one of my role models. Like our honoree here today, he came up through the Chicago ranks, through the news trade, and they were dear friends, close personal friends. As a matter of fact, Oprah shared with me that she and Stedman met at Max Robinson's house. Max was the first person of color to sit in the anchor's chair of a network news desk. He was not only a person of color, he was a colorful person, right? And history has neglected him because of his struggles in his personal life, many of them self-inflicted, and he would tell you that himself. He was known for being tempestuous. He struggled with alcohol abuse, and in his lingering self-doubt sometimes made him an unreliable colleague. But he broke a barrier in the world of television journalism in 1978 when he joined Peter Jennings and Frank Reynolds on World News Tonight. I don't know if you guys remember that. I'm Peter Jennings from London. I'm Frank Robinson from Chicago. And I'm Mr. Reynolds from Washington, right? Remember that? It was a long way from years before when he had a slideshow from the viewers. And what happened was, in his first job, he was reading the news and they would put a slide up, right? So you could not see the color of his skin. And so you could just hear him, but you couldn't see the color of his skin. And one day, Max told the station hand to remove that slide. And he said, I thought it would be good for all my folks and friends to see me rather than this dumb news sign up there. It got him fired the very next day. Beautiful voice, they didn't want to see the black face. It got him fired. Not long after that, though, Max secured the anchor desk at ABC News. He stoked controversy, again, when he delivered a fiery speech at Smith College. He criticized his own network for their lack of inclusion. He was furious that ABC News overlooked black reporters like himself for stories that had nothing to do with race or civil rights or issues deemed relevant to skin color. Why were they not included, he wondered, in the news that concerned every American? So he spoke out against it. He called it an unconscious kind of racism. His speech ruffled feathers, but it was also the thing that led to changes in the news division of ABC. Robinson wanted change everywhere, not just for the correspondent and on-air talent, but also for the show producers, the writers, and behind-the-scenes staff, for everyone. Everyone was there for the same purpose, and that was to report the news of the day, all of it. Max Robinson died in 1988 at the age of 49. Even his passing raised controversy. He insisted that his family disclose the cause of his death publicly, which was from complications due to AIDS. At a time when the President of the United States wouldn't even utter the name of the disease, Max Robinson said that he wanted to alert others in the black community about its dangers and a need for treatment and education. Even in his death, he was informing people. That is a true journalist, a true American. The reason I thought of Max today is because his story has never finished. To this day, that's why we're sitting in this room and we're discussing this. Because he is not the typical hero we lionize in pursuit of inclusion and empowerment. There are no perfect people. There are no perfect victims. There are no perfect heroes. Because he never chose to be the icon of diversity in his field. but he just wanted to be the best at reporting the news, and he wanted the same opportunities as everyone else in our business. The opportunities that I want, the opportunities that all of you want. And because he recognized early on that the best way to achieve this goal was to sometimes break the rules and speak out. Break the rules and speak out. I encourage all of you to please do the same. Actions over words. Look around you. Look at the people we're sitting in this room with. We sit in a very privileged position. What we do reaches a broad audience and influences the attitudes, the opinions, and the behaviors of the world around us. To achieve inclusion and empowerment, we have to empower and include. That means, for you, changes in casting, changes in staffing, changes in marketing. Resist the easy path. It is easy to hire the same crew. You know what they can do. You feel comfortable with them. You take risk out of the equation. Who wants to live a riskless life? Boring. But if we want change, you're going to have to embrace the unknown, feel uncomfortable, and face the same risks as Max Robinson faced when he told the stagehand to pull that card. Show his black, beautiful face to the world. It is hard, but it is the only way that we will make real change. Thank you.